Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is crazy. I'm Tiana Bree, and I am the creator of She Pursues. I honestly said I would never do something like this. This is just absolutely crazy to me. And creating a YouTube channel, this is so not me. This is like way, way, way out of my comfort zone. And I'm just I'm just hoping it helps somebody today. God had other plans for me. He led me here. I have been on a crazy, crazy journey, a health journey, a journey of really finding myself, looking deep within myself and figuring out, who am I? Who does God say I am? And why in the world am I going through so many trials? I mean, I've been through, I feel like, just hell and back when it comes to my health, and I'm still going through it and I'm still battling. But God gave me a glimpse into my why recently, and here I am. So I'm gonna share a little bit about my story. I'm gonna give the short version, and then over time I'll share more. But my story with my health actually goes all the way back to 2011. I just had my son, and I was experiencing some crazy, crazy, crazy gut issues. And I mean, like, really bad gut issues, to where there would be like weeks upon weeks of just pain and bloating. And sorry guys for those who don't talk about this on camera, but like severe constipation and things like that. And it was awful. It was so awful. And I remember at that time, I started to lose my hair. I was just so toxic and so sick, and I just felt awful all the time. And so I went from doctor to doctor to figure out what was wrong and what was going on. And of course, you know, a lot of the doctors, they couldn't figure it out. And I know doctors are just doing their jobs. They can only do so much. So I hate to say it, but it's kind of up to me to try to figure out what was going on. So I did a lot of research, and I came across, this was before gluten-free became a huge thing, where a lot of people were just in the know about it and trying it out. There wasn't any gluten-free options at the time, and it wasn't even that long ago, but it feels like it was forever ago. And I found some articles on what gluten can do to your body if you suffer from certain intolerances or diseases like celiac disease. So at the time, I decided, okay, I'm going to cut out gluten from my diet. I'm going to see what happens. And I was at, I think, the 6-month mark where I had cut gluten out. I was still sick, but not as sick. My gut issues were being helped, but I wasn't there yet. And so I went back to the doctor, and I actually asked the doctor for a celiac panel, because I was like, I just want to know. I just want to know. I just want some answers. I want to figure out why I feel the way I do, even if I'm already on the path to healing. I'm already, doing the things that it would take to heal, leaky gut and candida and all the things that I was suffering from at the time. I just wanted to know. I wanted some answers. So I went to the doctor, asked him for the celiac panel. Believe it or not, they actually said no. I went to, I think, 3 different doctors before I found a doctor who would test me for it. And then the doctor said, well, if you haven't been eating gluten in the past 6 months, then it's not even going to show up, because you have to be eating it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go back and start eating it and feel even worse just so I could take this test. Can you just give it to me anyway? So he did. So I got this test done, and it actually came back positive. And he said, I'm surprised it still came back positive, even though you haven't been eating gluten. So my celiac test was positive. It took me 2 years to actually heal my gut from that point, just eating right, cutting out gluten, doing all the things that you would typically need to do to heal leaky gut. And I'm going to go into that more in detail later on in a different video. So I was good. I was good for a little while. It took the 2 years to heal, and then I was good. Fast forward to 2018, the very beginning of 2018, I started to experience just some really weird symptoms all over again. And what I mean by that is when I say weird, I mean like my left arm. I started getting some really weird pains down my left arm. It would kind of start from, my elbow and shoot down through my forearm and into my wrist and into my hand. It would be really achy and sore, and it was odd. And then from there, over time, it started turning into more of like the nerve pain. So at first it felt like achy muscles almost, and then it started turning into nerve pain from my elbow down. What really started freaking me out was my hand, trigger finger. When you have trigger finger, your finger gets locked. Well, my entire hand would painfully crawl up and it would get locked that way. And when it would lock, it felt like a Charlie horse in your hand. And this was happening on a daily basis. And I'm like, okay, this is just weird. This is bad. It's painful. I need to get it checked. And up until that point, my experience with doctors wasn't super great because I had a lot of doctors say, all of my symptoms were in my head essentially because they couldn't figure out what was going on. They're like, well, it just wait and see what happens and it should go away. So I was like, okay, it's been, I think at that point it had been like 6 months. You can probably hear my chickens. The roosters are crowing out there. So it had been maybe 6 months at this point of my hand drying up and all the pain in my arm. And I started to get like numbness and tingling, and to a point where it was keeping me up at night. And so I was like, I'm going to go see a doctor. Well, the doctor, they did some x-rays of my hand. They sent me to, and I'm going to say this too, this was over like a year period of all the things that I'm saying right now. I got x-rays done. I was sent to multiple specialists, including surgeons, and I went to an RA doctor. And the x-ray that they had done of my hand, my joints were actually swelling. And they did both hands, and the joints on my other hand were swelling, but I wasn't getting any of the drawing up on my right hand. But my joints were swelling up, and they're like, okay, well, I could see that, so maybe it's arthritis. And I'm like, I'm in my early 30s. How can I already have arthritis? And the doctor told me, well, rheumatoid arthritis is something that it's an autoimmune disease, and so if you already have an autoimmune disease, celiac disease, you could develop other autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis. And I'm like, wow. Wow, okay, this is crazy. Okay, I believe you. So I went to a rheumatoid arthritis doctor, and I did the blood testing for it, and all of that came back negative. But she looked at the x-ray and she says, oh, I see this swelling in your joints, you must have it. So we're just going to say you have early stages of rheumatoid arthritis. All right. So I thought that was an answer, right? And I'm like, okay, well, at least now I know why I'm having the pain in my arm and why my hand might be drying up. I don't know. It still wasn't setting right with me. So about a couple months after that diagnosis, and the rest started happening very, very quickly. And this is this year. So just this year. The next couple months after that diagnosis, I started experiencing a lot of other crazy, weird symptoms that were coming out of nowhere. I started to feel sick all the time. And when I mean sick, I mean I was starting to feel like I had the flu all the time. My body ached. I couldn't get out of bed. I had chronic fatigue, so bad. I felt like that when you're getting the flu and your body just feels toxic. It feels sick. It wasn't, I was slightly feverish, not much, but it was just that overall sick feeling. And I was getting that regularly. I would wake up and I'm like, I just can't get up today. And I would have to stay in bed. Or I would get up and it would be around noon and I'm like, I'm going back to bed. So that kept going. And then I started developing other symptoms like my legs. I started getting nerve pain shooting down my legs into my feet, more like numbness. I would wake up and I couldn't feel my arms or my hands. The tingling and the numbness was just, it was awful. And I started getting heart palpitations. And when that started, I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on with my body? Something is seriously wrong. This is not right. And then the turning point for me, where I was like, this is very serious, because I didn't want to go back to a doctor. I was like, the doctors are just going to keep telling me it's in my head, even though I'm losing chunks of hair and they're telling me it's from coloring my hair. So I didn't want to go back to the doctor. And I was washing dishes one night. So here's the turning point. I was washing dishes one night And I'm standing in the kitchen, and all of a sudden, I can't see. It's just everything goes white. I get really dizzy, and I feel like I'm going to vomit. And I'm like, okay, this is so weird. And so the family's sitting at the table, they're eating dinner, and I just said, I need to go lay down. And I stopped what I was doing, dropped everything, and went to lay down in bed. And my sweet husband comes in, and he's like, "Are you okay? What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I just all of a sudden feel like I have a concussion." You know, where if you've ever had a concussion, it's kind of like you're not there. You're in a dream state, and I couldn't see straight. I was seeing stars, and next thing I know, the back of my tongue goes completely weak. I couldn't speak with using my tongue, and it was the weirdest feeling that I had felt, and I'm like, this is awful. It was like temporary paralysis of my tongue. And I was like, okay, this is getting serious. These symptoms are just, these are not normal. People don't just have these symptoms all the time. Something is seriously going on. So from there, I decided I'm going to start doing my own research. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into what in the world is happening with me. And I started coming across these articles. And I came across one article, and I'm getting chills thinking about it, because I came across this article, and it was about chronic Lyme disease. And when I'm reading this article, every single symptom that it listed, I was experiencing and had been experiencing the entire year. And again, this is just this year, guys. So this is so new for me. That's why I get chills thinking about it. And I'm just so in awe that I even got this far and figured so much out just in this short period of time. Every symptom that I found was on there, or that I was having, was listed in that article. And so what do? I call my doctor, and I'm like, I think I have chronic Lyme disease. And I get in, and the doctor is like, well, I'm just going to let you know, we're able to test for Lyme, but it's using a Western blot test, and that blot test is probably going to show a negative if you were infected a couple years ago. And I'm like, okay, all right. Well, I've been experiencing these issues, for a couple years. That's why you said a couple years ago. And I'm like, okay, it's been a long time. So can we just please do it? I'm praying for answers. I need answers. I need to figure out what is wrong with me. Like, it's clear. It's not in my head. It's not in my head. Please test me. So he tests me. I get the test back. It's negative. And I'm like, come on, please, I need answers. So from there, I was not about to give up. I felt like I was so close to just breaking this thing wide open and figuring out why I was feeling so sick for so long. What is going on? And please let me just figure it out so I can start healing and feeling like a normal person again. I don't know how many days I've woken up and said, I miss waking up, having energy, and being able to make it an entire day without going to bed in the middle of the day, having to take a nap, having to tell my kids, I'm sorry, I just don't feel well. I can't play. I can't do anything with you guys today. I need to go lay down. It's awful. And I just wanted breakthrough. I needed breakthrough. So I got together with some of my super amazing health-minded friends and kind of talked it out with them and was like, okay, what do you know that I don't know? What can I learn? What can I research? And so I started researching more about chronic Lyme, because I just knew in my gut, I have chronic Lyme. I know it. I have every single symptom of chronic Lyme. It has to be that, right? So I started finding all these different tests that you can take and doctors you can see. And I'm going to tell you, it is so overwhelming of a process when you're so new to this. It is so overwhelming to have all of these different doctors you could see, all of these different tests you can run, and all of these, to be honest, articles that go way over my head on how things work in your body. And it was so much, and already fighting chronic fatigue on a daily basis, which is like, you can't even think straight. Your brain fog is just to the max. You can't think. It was just too much for me to handle. But God sent me a new friend who was like, I think I have something that could help. So I started looking into this company that does chronic Lyme testing. And I was looking at two companies, but this one in particular didn't require a doctor to sign off. And why I didn't want that is because I was learning that the doctors that I would need to see to diagnose and test for Lyme, none of them are covered under insurance. And so it would be a heavy, heavy out of pocket expense. And I'm like, I can't do that right now, but I need answers. So I found this test, and it was an at-home test. I sent it in. It was a urine test, and it would test for all these different bands of Lyme plus the co-infection. So I sent that in. Along with that, I was like, if I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And I sent in tests for mold toxicity, for heavy metal toxicity, for vitamin and mineral deficiencies, for hormone testing, omega-3 testing, everything that you can think of, I sent in because I'm like, I want a full picture before I even move forward with any sort of treatment. I need to know what's going on in my body. And so I just went a little crazy with the testing, but it's so worth it. So this is bringing me into last week. And if you've gotten this far in my story, thank you so much for listening. Just last week, I got my Lyme test results back. And I had been praying and praying and praying for an answer and praying that, God, if it's Lyme, please let it show on this test result. When I open it up, please be on there and show me, not because I wish to have chronic Lyme, but because I wish for answers. I want to know what's happening so I can start to heal. I open up, it was through email, I open up the PDF, and lo and behold, I have chronic Lyme disease plus co-infections. Hallelujah. I have an answer. I have the start of an answer. And how good that feels. And I know it's crazy to say, yes, I have Lyme disease. It's not that. It's, yes, I have been battling for 2 years. I'm going to start crying. I've been battling for 2 years. And I finally have an answer. I now can start healing. And I'm still waiting on the test results from the other testing. And when I get that, I'll absolutely share it with you, because this kind of brings me into something. I wrote this down so I could read it, because over the last week, after I got this diagnosis, I ran into a couple Bible verses that just spoke to my heart, and I wanted to share them today. So, first, I was asking God, why, if I have this, what can I do with it to help others? Because ultimately my goal in life is to serve God and to help other people, to serve other people and figure out, what I can do. And the first thing I got was in Isaiah the prophet says, "You restored me to health and let me live. Surely it was for my benefit that I suffered such anguish." And when I read that, I'm like, God, yes. I was dealt these cards, not, oh, poor me. I was dealt these cards so I could be restored, so I can be restored to health. I can live. And it was to my benefit that I suffer, because I'm able to come out on the other side and help other people going through the same thing. I'm still walking through this, guys. I got the diagnosis, but I'm still, every single day is a struggle right now. And I hide it from so many people. So this right now, what I'm doing, this is, I would never have done this. But, and just let everybody know what's going on with me, because I'm such an internal person. I don't share often, but this is what the Lord is leading me to do. The second one was in John 9. So Jesus and his disciples, they see a blind man. And the disciples ask, who sinned to make that man blind? Was it his parents? Did he sin? Why is he blind? And Jesus answered, "It was neither that this man sinned, nor his parents, but it was so the works of God might be displayed in him. And it's incredible. It's incredible. He was ill so he can be healed through the glory of God, and he can go and spread that word. I find that to be incredible, and I find that to be where I am, and I feel like I am now able to serve a greater purpose, knowing what I have going on and being able to do this journey. So I'm just starting out my journey, and I wanted to do this YouTube channel so I can document all of my steps. I want to document what I'm doing, what is helping, what is not, what am I taking, what supplements am I taking, what products am I using, what do the doctors say when I finally get to one? What treatment are they recommending? What is my research telling me? I want to be able to document all of my steps so that maybe one day, even if it's like 5 years from now, somebody going through the same battle that I'm going through, that I have gone through the last couple of years, they can see this and they can say, me too. That's me. That's where I am. Show me what you're doing and what is working. And everybody's different. I know that my body is different than other people's, and I know that what works for me might not work for you. So I hope that whoever is watching this, whoever sticks with me through my journey, I really hope that it helps you, and I really hope that this can serve you in some way. Thanks for watching.